and we'll get started. So thanks everybody for joining. It looks like we still have people trickling in. Jason Williams with Bestbath, and co-hosting this is Dean Curtis from Ingage. He is the CEO at Ingage. And we're just hopping on here to roll out this new tool we're offering all our dealers with Bestbath. And so I'm going to hand this over to Dean. I did want to just give a couple little housekeeping. We have a question and answer section that will, if you have questions as we're going along at the end, I'll pop that up and try to get to as many questions as we can and throw them on there. And then we'll also have some contact information at the end of this for people to reach out directly for questions. So with that, Dean, I'm going to hand it over to you and we'll dive into what Ingage is and how we're working with Bestbath.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the handoff, Jason, and thanks for having us today. I am just going to get my technology working here. So I'm going to share my screen so everybody can see a presentation. I'm actually going to share the screen of my iPad, which is one of the ways that we can use Ingage. Obviously, as the Ingage guy, I'm going to use Ingage for our presentation today to share a little bit about the partnership that we have and what we're making available to the Bestbath dealers out there. So thanks so much for having us. You know, as a leader of a company myself, I can empathize with all of the attendees on the webinar because, you know, if you lead a team or a company, you know, there's a constant challenge of finding the best tools in the market to enable your team. And at Ingage, we're constantly looking at hardware and software for ourselves that enable our team to operate at peak performance. And today, what I'd like to do is introduce Ingage. We're the leading presentation software in the home improvement industry. And contractors around the world are increasing their close rates and deal sizes using Ingage by better meeting their clients where they are, meaning where they are in their buyer journey, where they are in their understanding, so that they can use this content to help them move through the buyer journey to hopefully improve the opportunity to close a deal and to sell more. And so diving in, just a quick bit about us, and then I'll talk about why it's important, not just to have Ingage, but to have really rich content when in the home. Let's take a look at Ingage itself. So we've helped hundreds of sales teams increase their effectiveness by offering always up-to-date content that captures and then keeps the attention of clients. We all know it's like so hard to get people's attention and then keep it, right? We're in the attention economy. And, you know, it's really important to be able to do that. And with the Ingage suite, you can create powerful professional presentations. You can seamlessly share them with your team so that everyone always has the latest and greatest. And Jason's going to talk about that in a little bit, about how that really is part of the partnership and what we want to make available to everyone who's out there as a Bestbath dealer. So we're here to help you prepare your teams to win. And I'd like to share some of the insights we've learned along the way in helping contractors increase their close rates and their average deal sizes using really rich immersive content. So as we look at kind of the agenda for our portion here, is we really want to help you increase your sales through using the psychology of and understanding the psychology of your consumer. First and foremost, understanding who that customer really is, and the demographics of the customer base break down. It's interesting how it breaks down, and we'll talk a little bit about there. We'll talk about how customers learn best, and then we want to help you in that education process, right? Selling home improvement, we've seen, involves a high level of customer education, right? People who are buying what you're selling don't buy it every day. They might buy it one time in their life, right? So how do you improve the customer education as you're going through the sales process so that you can close more business? So that's the agenda we're going to go through today. Let me drive in here. So let's take a look at who you're selling to today. So in terms of the demographics of the market, it's really important to know your audience, right? A major customer segment are those boomers. And according to Synchrony, 85% of boomers research products on the web before purchasing. I think a lot of people know this. Like, you think of the millennial generation as in their digital first approach, but boomers are no different than the millennials that are also probably
It never fails when I walk into my parents' house, they're on their iPads.
That's right.
I'm looking at, or if I mention it to my, mom, something, she'll send me articles for weeks on.
Oh my gosh. If I post something about my kids on Instagram, my mom is the first one to like it within seconds.
Yeah, I get articles for days. I have to be careful what I ask for.
So building on that, expect that all buyers are going to be well prepared when you do earn the opportunity to meet with them in their home, right? 57% of their buying process happens before you even have a chance to meet with them. And then even more, millennials, it's a huge part of the market right now. They're buying homes that need work, right? 50% of all bathroom remodels were done by millennials last year, right? So I don't have a stat on the screen here, but if you look at the millennials, they're 49% of home buyers right now. And they are not in a position to drop, a full cash offer on a home, and the homes that they're buying need work. So when you look at the people who you're talking to, understand they are really going to be informed when they come to you, but you still have a lot of education to do. And that's where, when you look at it, right, there's a ton of active learning that has to happen, right? Selling home improvement involves education of the customer. It's important to understand how they learn, right? Not that they are going to learn, but really, how are they going to learn? And based on data, we see from our customers, many sales reps are spending an hour or more in the home with a prospective client. Maybe your sales process is even longer or shorter, but on average, it's at least an hour. And it's a constant challenge to keep a customer engaged throughout that process. So the question is, how do you keep them actively engaged? So if we take a look at some of those stats, right? So the attention span is pretty short. I might have lost some of you already on this presentation, to be honest, right? And according to a Cornell study, 10 to 20 minutes tops, that's all you get before people are checked out. And you have to make sure to include pattern interrupt into your presentation. So the design of this presentation is very intentional. You notice I keep going back and forth to kind of a home screen, and then I dive into a deeper part of the presentation. That's intentional. I'm changing what comes up on the screen from a static image to an active video, right? Because even worse, it only takes 8 seconds for someone to decide if they like the content you're presenting. Your digital tools need to immediately capture the attention of the customer. And then finally, I'm sure many, if not all of you, have spent considerable capital branding your trucks with wraps and your teams with shirts and hoodies and hats that have your company brand. That brand is so important to today's consumer. And it only takes 5/100ths of a second for someone to form an opinion about your brand. So if your brand is not well represented in your sales process, you're going to lower your chance of success. So let's take a quick look at just some of the content that Bestbath has, and Jason's going to show you a little bit more about this. But this is an example of a page that is in the Bestbath content that you're going to have access to, using interactive points of interest to explain the different properties of the various features of the shower. These pop-ups can be videos, images, text. All of those have been integrated within the presentation materials to really help you down this, move your customers down the buyer journey so that you are providing that interactive experience to help. Let's talk a little bit more about visuals. I recently had a contractor at my house to provide a quote for a gutter project. Most exciting project I could ever think about, right? So while he was taking measurements, he handed me his iPad and asked me to watch a 4-minute video. He knew it was going to take him about 4 minutes to do the measuring. And in that 4-minute video, it described the gutter project, the protection system, the warranty. Like, it really gave me a good overview of the information that I needed to kind of take away from the overall meeting that we were going to have. Video is really powerful and is much more memorable than text. So when you look at it, right, viewers retain 95% of the message from a video as compared to only 10% when it's text alone. Pretty crazy. That's right. And there's it's crazy, right? And there's no surprise, 90% of the information that's transmitted to our brain is visual. Like, if you close your eyes, what comes to mind first? The text you read in the Wall Street Journal this morning, or the text you read on a billboard? No, an image comes to mind almost for all of us, right? It's what makes social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok and the doom scrolling within Reels and on their feeds so popular, because that constant stream of visual content stimulates our brain far more than words on a page. So as we look at it, the same is true for images, not just videos. Compared to verbal communication, we remember 6 to 7 times more information from a memorable image when compared to what someone says. Right? So you'll remember what you see on the screen far more than the words that I'm saying. It's pretty nuts. And then, finally, this carries over to sales conversion as well. You have 74% purchase on explainer videos. It's crazy how much you can actually use a simple explainer video to improve your chances of closing, improve what you're actually the conversion of what you're selling. So really elevate. Yep, go ahead.
Can you touch on that? What, like when you say explainer video, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so it's the demonstration of how the installation process goes, or the demonstration of how to clean. Like we had a bathroom project actually last summer, and they left me with this paper. It was horrible, but they left me with this paper cleaning instructions.
Yeah.
So rather than a quick video to show me, explain to me how to clean the glass, because it's, I don't know, some fancy glass that I can't use certain chemicals on, I'd much rather have a video that I can go back to, right? A, I'm going to lose the paper. Guarantee I probably already have. And B, that maybe that information needs to change over time, right?
Yeah.
Give me a link to a video. Give me some way that I can really educate the customer and understand. So lots of great examples of that. The next thing, so if we take a look at, this video, it's another example of interactivity in the presentation through the use of an interactive reveal before and after image of the project. So Jason will show you some more of these in a little bit as well, but that visual really helps. So powerful visuals really help. Personalization is really important as well. So visuals used in the sales process, they also need to speak to the buyer, right? Buyers want to identify with the brand. Think about your favorite brands and the feeling you get when you purchase one of their products. At a recent conference, one of our partners was giving away a Yeti cooler. When I said Yeti, everybody knew what I meant, right? I just said the word Yeti. I don't need to show you a picture of a Yeti cooler. Everybody knows what a Yeti cooler is. It was incredible to me how many people were eager to have the chance to win the raffle. Now, how they were going to get it on the plane to get home, I'm not really sure.
It's always the question.
But what's crazy is 90% of customers find personalization appealing, right? And I don't mean you have to build everyone a custom presentation, but what you do need to do is make sure the imagery and the videos that are in your presentation are relatable to the demographic that you're selling into, right? If you're selling into a younger demographic, don't have pictures of older people. If you're selling into an older demographic, don't have a bunch of pictures of younger people. So don't mean you have to customize everything, but ensure the examples that you include in your sales materials match the demographics you're focused on. We've seen many of our customers customize content based on the socioeconomics and the markets they're serving. So they know that maybe they I live in Philadelphia, they serve the whole Philadelphia area. Well, if you're going to one area versus another, you may need to think about the sales materials you're using so that if you don't walk up to someone with a house that's X with a presentation of houses that are 10X, right? You just want to make sure you're really thinking about that. And then, many companies fall short on this. 80% of customers believe that brands fail to understand them, which leads them to being more resistant to your sales pitch and decreases the likelihood that you're actually going to close a sale. So really important to think about how the materials that you're presenting to someone speak to the demographic that you're working with. And your reputation is so important, right? Building trust and credibility throughout all your interactions with a client is so important. And there are many ways to showcase the great work you've done with previous customers. And this is critical because, 77% of customers check reviews. 3/4 of the people that you're going to talk to actually check reviews, right? And 93% of customers said those reviews influenced their buying decision. And I think some people are realistic that maybe not all reviews are what they're cracked up to be. So they take it with a grain of salt, but it's a pretty high number of people who are relying on them, at least to inform their decision, right? So let me show you a few ways that customers have used Ingage to share this kind of information. So whether you use a site like Guild Quality or Google Reviews or whatever it happens to be, you can embed those directly in the presentation and use these types of interactive features in order to tell the story that you want to tell around those reviews, right? So that's one way. Another way is just to simply include a quote wall of different customer testimonials. And then what's interesting is if I was in the sales process right now of working with someone, remember if you look at the demographics of all these different images, I've hit a lot of different folks, right? So if I know that I'm in a home which looks more like this, I can bring up that customer quote, right? So again, making sure you have all the different ways in order to really understand how maybe your reviews can help you in that sales process. So I promised three. We have three main points that we wanted to talk to you about, right? Really understanding who your customer is, really understanding how your customer learns best, like that's in terms of the modes of communicating with them, video, images, text, really understanding how they're going to react to each of those. And then finally, really, how do you help them make a more informed decision? Do you provide reviews? Do you provide access to information that maybe they can't get from another provider? So what I'm going to do now, Jason, I'm going to hand it back to you to show some of the content that you have for the dealers in order to sell the Bestbath solution.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Dean. And I've sent in a couple of these with you, and every time I do, I learn more. And I'm like, oh man, we need to do that with our presentation. So it's always informative. You know, I'm going to jump in and screen share here in a second, but I did just want to quickly touch on, like, we've been working with Ingage for about almost 2 years now. We started with them, started building some presentations. They helped us with some of the creation of our presentations. And, you know, they were last year worked really hard to create kind of a custom plan for Bestbath so we could roll this out to all of our dealers at no charge as like a read-only option. So we're creating presentations on our end. We're continuing to create content. Dean touched on it while he was talking. The cool part is, like, when we come out with new products, new offerings, you'll see through some of the presentation that Dean was giving, some of our logos were on there with Bestbath, but then we had our new Rain by Bestbath logo. Since we acquired Rain walk-in tubs, they were able to go in and quickly edit that. So that way we could also show that, you know, this is a new product offering, but as we come out with new presentations, as we come out with new products and we change it, it'll instantly get pushed to everybody who has the Ingage software and has the app downloaded to their iPads. The great part is, you know, again, Ingage worked with Bestbath to create this program to where we can offer it really at our expense to everybody to have that read-only version. And then they created a customizable side where if you need more direct support and you want to add to the presentations, add your customer story, you'll be able to work directly with Ingage and kind of have an expanded version above and beyond the read-only. So Dean, I appreciate you and your team for doing that and working with us on, because we really wanted to get it out to all of our dealers and not have to restrict it to certain types. And, you know, because we feel it's a valuable tool for them to be able to use in the home, as well as if they decide they want to expand on it in their business, they have that option. So with that, I'll screen share and show you a little bit of what we've created so far, as long as I don't muddy up my screen share. Here we go. Dean, you seeing my screen?
I am.
My presentation, it's working.
You bet.
So along with some of what Dean was talking about, you know, we've built, there'll be 3 presentations to start off with when you download the software. You're going to get an email from Ingage. It's going to ask you to set up a username. They'll give you the links to the software to download. If there's problems at the end of this, you know, there'll be a contact for Ingage to reach out to and or us to reach out to. You know, I'm not going to go through all the presentations. I'm not going to spend the 20, 30 minutes of a step-by-step, but I'm just going to give you some key points. Dean touched on having different presentations for different demographics. We know our customers have different demographics. We know some of our customers are really heavily focused in the accessibility world. They are trying to help people that are dealing with disabilities. And so we have a presentation that's specifically geared more around that side of the business. The presentation I'm going to show you here is more of a universal design where you've got both options of, you know, something that somebody's aging in their home, or they just want, like the millennial wants a beautiful shower. So we have created a few presentations. When we did this, these presentations not only are around what Dean talked about, where, you know, it brings that pop to the presentation, that interruption through the flow right off the get-go. You know, you've built your rapport, kind of like what happened with Dean with the gutters. You know, it's time to go measure. You built your rapport, you need to go take a look at the bathroom. You can set your iPad down and say, here, while I'm measuring your bathroom, here's a quick 4-minute video that we've embedded into this first presentation so they can learn about Bestbath. They can learn, you know, what we do. And it's a great opportunity for them to, you know, have that bond to the product offering and see that we're, you know, based in Idaho. And again, that story while you're off doing your measuring. Then you get to dive into the actual nuts and bolts of the presentation where we talk about our story. We get to talk about our founder and, you know, how long we've been around. We can click on these pop-ups and talk about different product offerings we've created, or, you know, the newest one that we acquired, Rain Walk-in Tubs in 2022. So now we can be a, you know, manufacturer of walk-in tubs that are US made as well as showers. So again, you're just building that rapport, building that relationship, forming that attachment with our product offering. You get to dive into some of the actual product side of things. And we've built this around a complete flow of what the sales cycle could look like. Because not only do you have this tool in your hands electronically, but you have the sales kit that we've provided you as well that actually has the hard samples. So as you're going through this, you'll be able to pull out the sample that's talking about the wall when you get to that section, so they can actually touch it and feel it. When it gets to the color selection, not only can they see it on the screen, not only can you change the colors, but they'll actually be able to see and touch and feel. So, you know, we have these pop-ups that were built in there, embedded into the presentation. Again, this is what Dean touched on, having like that example of being able to show how it's made. So we're talking about the wall system. We can talk directly to how it's made while they're physically holding it in their hand and they're seeing it on video. Same with our pans. They'll be able to see, touch and feel what the pan is as you're talking about it and see it on the screen. And again, I'm not going to go into each page because I want to make sure I'm respectful of the time, but then, you know, we've got the shower samples or examples that they can pick from. You can see this is more geared around towards anybody who's needing a bathroom remodel rather than somebody specifically looking for accessibility. And so you can see even the terminology we've used. You know, we're addressing a curbless shower, curb shower, rather than a barrier-free, accessible. So we're really trying to target this particular presentation to one demographic, where the other presentation would be more targeted towards that person that is trying to solve a medical need in their home. We got pop-ups on the examples of what a curbed pan means, what a curbless pan means. So that way you can actually talk through that with them and help them understand what they're getting in their home. It dives into some of the actual in-depth side of things, which, you know, depending on the customer, you may need to spend some time on that. Again, you'll have the sample in your hand that you'll actually be able to physically hand them as well, tying it back to the presentation. Some fun stuff that we put in here, because now that they've selected their shower, now that they know what size they need, that they're going with curbed or curbless, now you get to pick out the colors. Same thing, tied to the sample bag, you have your sample color chips in there, but they could say, you know, I really like fashion gray. It actually is a pop-up for them to kind of get a visual on what fashion gray is going to look like. Or if they wanted to go with just a solid ice gray, again, they can get a taste and a feel for what that's going to look like while they're holding that actual physical sample in their hand. The slide bar, I love this thing. It's just fun to be able to use. Dean showed it off for a minute. Being able to show what the shower can change when you add some of the customizations that we offer, especially on the design side. So same thing, as you have your sample bag there, you now get to pull out your wall sample that shows the tile recess, and then you can show a picture of what that tile recess could look like versus no tile recess. So again, they're getting to tie the visualization together with actually feeling it in their hand. Dean touched on this for a second. Last night, we got some cool new photos that I found that were available. They're not really new. I just found them. Our marketing team had them in their folder for a while. I sent it over to the gentleman that does some of our presentations. He added it to this for me last night. It's already updated. So when we make changes, it will instantly get pushed to you. And once you're connected to Wi-Fi, it will upload the new presentation. So last night, you know, here's an example of the tile recess where you can pick the double center strip, the long center strip. He added these pictures in for me and instantaneously they're available today for me. So now I can actually see this is what that double long center strip tile would look like. This is what the long center strip tile would look like. Here's a version of the double bolt so your customer can actually see it. And when we have these new innovations that come on, new renderings, new pictures, new product offerings, we'll be able to get that to you instantaneously. Then we touch on our accessory items where we can really give them their full experience, making sure we're meeting all the demand that they need for within their shower, touching on the grab bars. Again, we really tried to embed, these different slide bar features so they get the experience of picking colors. They can see what some of the options are, to help them really build what their shower is going to look like. Again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Same, the water stopper. This is one that we get a lot of. So we embedded it with the gray and beige for people to be able to take a look at. And there's one here I really like to touch on because we touch on trim kits. At the very end, it's not an explanation video. I see this as an opportunity for us to continue to add to our presentations as Dean talked about it. I use this picture a lot because it's a great explanation of this is what your shower is going to look like when it comes to you. This is how it goes together. This is how the pan goes in, the bat. I see this as a great opportunity for us to put in an explanation video with a 3D pan floating down, walls going in, sidewalls going in, trim piece. They get the feel, like you were talking about, Dean, of what their finished product is going to look like and how it assembles, especially when you're dealing with that multi-piece. I use this picture a lot for that already. So actually having the explanation video, I think, is a great win. And it kind of touches on, as we're doing this, as we're getting feedback from, the users and things that we can look to improve on, we'll be able to improve these things as we're going along and continue to create cool content that's really engaging for your customers. So with that, I'm going to stop screen sharing if I can figure out which screen I'm looking at. There we go, Dean. So that's the gist of kind of some of what we built. Again, you should have already received an email to start getting set up. I've received a lot of calls making sure that this was really us sponsoring this with Ingage. People making sure they're supposed to be clicking on this. But once you've gone in and your team has set up their username, they've downloaded the app. The app is really great on the iPads and other products because you have once you've downloaded it, you can actually be offline using this. You don't have to be connected to Wi-Fi. So if you're in a home and you don't need to worry about trying to get on a hotspot, or you can actually use these presentations. And then once you're back, if we do anything new, they'll automatically get updated to you. I think there are a lot of companies out there that will find there's an opportunity to expand on this where, above and beyond the free offering that Bestbath is doing, where maybe you want to have some of your 50-year history story at the beginning of these, and you want to tell some of your, Google reviews. That's where you'll be able to work with Ingage. And I know Dean's going to touch on that next, to have an expanded contractor subscription with Ingage to be able to do some editing as well. So with that, Dean, I'll pass.
Excellent. Yes. Sounds good. Yeah. Let me share my screen again here. So, as Jason mentioned, is there's other options for Ingage beyond the free content that you're going to get through Bestbath. And as we talk to customers all the time, there's a set of criteria that we typically go through just for a customer to understand, is Ingage Suite really right for me in terms of helping me in my business? And typically our customers have a team of dedicated sellers, right? They have one or more person dedicated with a defined sales process that you're going through. They typically value consistency in the sales presentation, that they know they're going to go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, whatever your selling process is. They are familiar with using technology to sell in the home, or aspirationally want to get there. They want to mature maybe from the camera roll of past pictures to a codified presentation of really good examples of how they've solved the problems that they're hearing. And as they're doing discovery in the home, they want to maybe show a nice codified set of examples of how they've had success in the past. Our customers typically are really into training their sales reps how to sell. They have a defined process. They want to manage that process. They want to understand if people are following it. And that leads to insight on the delivery of the sales materials in the home. Because as part of Ingage, right, we talked about it at the beginning, it's creating great presentations, giving them to your team. But the real piece at the back end is understanding how people are using them, right? So after I deliver this presentation, I can go back and look, and I can see how much time I've spent on each of these different pages in the presentation. Did it match what I practiced, how I wanted to really educate everyone on this webinar on the great things that you can do with our product, but also the great things that you need to know about selling to your customers. And I can go back and see a map of how well I hit my mark or how well I didn't miss my mark. And in your world, it's how well did the sales rep hit their mark, and is there improvement? Is there things that we can learn from how certain people on the team are presenting versus others that can help the others get better, right? So really, that's the idea behind the analytics piece. So what you're going to get from your relationship with Bestbath and what they have made available to you is the presentation that Jason showed you. For up to 10 users in your company, you'll get access to any of the Bestbath content for no cost. And you'll also get access to the analytics of how people in your organization, when you add them to Ingage, are actually using that presentation. The platforms we support, Jason mentioned iPad, we also support the Mac, and then Intel-based Windows computers. And then you'll have view access to the content that Bestbath provides. If you want to go beyond that and you want to have a full license to Ingage where you can create your own content that, as Jason mentioned, maybe bookends what Bestbath is giving you, you want to tell your company story, or there's other products that you sell. So you're not only doing baths, but you also do windows or roofs or whatever it is that you also install. Maybe there's other products that you want to build this type of rich content for. We have a full suite of Ingage that's available to you. It's offered at a 20% discount through the relationship with Bestbath. So you would have access to preferred pricing and then get access to our full Ingage suite, including all of what it takes to get onboarded onto the platform as well. So we have presentation designers that will meet with you. We have an onboarding staff that will help get you up and running. Because what we find is people that we work with in home improvement are amazing at the work. They're not always skilled in developing great presentations, but we can help get you there in that through that process. So that's what we are.
Can I comment?
Yeah, go for it
too. I did just want to touch on, like, when I first saw Ingage, I thought, man, this is really great. It feels like it's going to be really hard to make beautiful, like it's going to be hard to use, like to make them as beautiful as you showed them off. But your team worked with us. They helped, they had the designers that helped create some things for us to get us started. That once you're in there using it, actually creating, especially once you have your template, creating presentations are like, I've done a lot of PowerPoints and not well, but I've at least been able to muddy my way through building a PowerPoint. But this was really, drag and drop, user-friendly, easy to really create some beautiful. And now you guys are offering templates already where they're already pre-made. It's just putting your content in. So I think it's important to touch on, while you're doing, again, with us being able to offer just our Bestbath presentations at no charge, it's great, a great tool and a great resource. But as they're using it, if they feel they need to expand, there are a lot of companies doing what you said, bookend, where they're putting their company story, they're having the Bestbath presentation, or maybe they're on site doing a roofing presentation and they can have the roofing one, the siding, the windows. And, it's not as, and I'm just speaking from personal experience, it's not as scary as it looks to create these. They're really user-friendly.
I appreciate the endorsement. And the thing is, we've invested a lot over the last couple of years in making it even easier to get started with the platform. And if you give me a blank piece of paper and ask me to draw something, I forget it. Like, I'm not great at that. But if you give me some building blocks in which to construct something, I'm much better, right? Yeah. And what we do is we have what we call the Ingage Marketplace, where we have tons of templates and samples that are designed to get you started. Right. And we have them from the generic things of just generic layouts of pages, but we also have industry specific content as well. So we have bath content, we have roofing content, we have siding content, where you can look and see what are some best practices that we've learned from our hundreds of customers who are presenting roofing in the home. Here's some ways to do that. Same thing with the Bestbath content that we created with you guys. So I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity to be here with you today. For those who are interested in getting in touch with us, you can hit us up on our website to learn more, or email sales@ingage.io. And then Jason, I'll pass it back to you. Maybe we can do some Q&A and take any questions, or if there's other things you have as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. You have there up on the screen, if you need any support with everybody should be getting loaded into Engage at this point. That's part of our current program. Of course, there's going to be duplications. There's going to be things that get missed. If you have questions and have trouble getting actually onto Engage, feel free to reach out to us or Engage. Or if you actually want to dive into some of the like training side of our presentations and how to use them with your customers, you can reach out to any of your regional sales managers. There were a couple questions that were posted that I'll touch on. One was if this is being recorded, and yes, we are recording this, and I'm sure our great marketing department will figure out how we can share this. Typically, when we do cool webinars like these, we post them to our website as well, so people can go back, especially in our dealer portal, so they can go and review this type of information. Someone had asked, are there stats on different Engage presentations that work differently with different generations of customers? You briefly touched on some of the stats you can pull just from, your team spending time on certain slides. Like if you go into our, what we would call a program presentation, which is more geared around the accessibility world. So there are more grab bar, there are more, it's more of an institutional looking versus design oriented. If you're presenting that to somebody who needs a, wheelchair accessible shower, you'll be able to tell from those stats of how much time people spent on, certain slides. But is there any stats on, from your end, particular presentations and how they might work with different generational customers? Or is it really just building the presentation around targeting that customer?
It's really the latter, right? It's making sure that when you're presenting content to someone that they see themselves in it, right? Either directly or aspirationally, right? So I say that in terms of, and I mentioned the example earlier, don't show homes that are 10 times as expensive as the homes that you're walking into, because people may not see themselves in that type of a home, right? Don't show young people when you're selling to older people, or make sure you have a mix. So it doesn't have to be every piece of content, but definitely ensure that all of the demographics that you're presenting to are represented in the imagery, in the videos, in the words that you use in order to present. So it's tough to say, are there specific stats? So there's no specific stats on different Engage presentations that work across generations, but we just caution you, because you can see engagement go down when people don't see themselves represented in the images and videos that you're using.
Well, and I think it's a great, again, as we're new to rolling this out to all of our dealers, we're going to be able to see a lot of stats on our presentation. So as the one we just went through, if people are spending a lot of time on that page that has the tile recess pictures that pop out, and we're seeing 50% of the time spent on that page, we know that's an area we can expand and duplicate throughout the presentation. Some of this we're going to be looking for feedback from our users. We're going to be looking for new ideas on how to, not make it custom particularly to that user, but opportunities to expand it in general that will make it better. And so I think, for this question, we're going to learn as we're going along too, where we can improve, where we, this might speak better in this demographic, and we're seeing people that are doing this one, we need to expand on that as well.
And we see customers do that. So what they'll do is they'll look at the analytics of the presentation, and they'll see where people are spending the most time in the presentation. And they'll also see where people don't go. Like one example, and this isn't specific to Bestbath, or it's financing, right? So they're really pushing finance, and they think it's the thing. And they look at the analytics of their presentation, and there's but people aren't presenting the financing section. And they're like, guys, we've been training on this forever and no one's presenting it. And then they see that the people who are presenting it, they correlate it back to the sales data. And like, Jason is killing it in sales because he's positioning financing. Dean, you're missing the boat, right? So it's a great opportunity for education.
I even did it going through I skimmed over a couple slides that, they're not my favorite. There's not a cool button here that I don't like to use. I want to jump to the one that has the cool button. I'm even doing it when I'm just demonstrating it. So I think we're going to learn, as we're going and we're watching the statistics. I know our marketing department loves statistics. They love data. It helps them make decisions. It helps them know where to make changes, rather than me just saying, hey, I've got this great idea. This is how you need to do it. they have the statistics backing that up, showing that we're
Yep.
spending a lot of time on this type of content. Another
Yep.
question was, do we have dealers already using this? We've pre-released this probably to a handful, I would say maybe 20 dealers across the US. During that time, we were still building our presentations, trying to create content. We have had a few that have been implementing it with some good success. Again, it just, when you have the whole package put together, not just the presentation by itself, or not just the samples by themselves, or not just, when you put the package of the presentation in alignment with the hands-on materials that customers can touch, you're building that story for them with their shower. And we are seeing people have good experience closing with that. Hence us wanting to really get this out to everybody so we can really expand on this. And I know Dean can speak to this, we also work with some of the, bigger top 500 type of remodelers out there. And every one of them are using programs like this, where they're going through a sales cycle and, really have that engagement with their customer while they're doing the sale. So I see it also in the industry pretty heavily.
Yeah. Our market penetration in the QR 500 is pretty significant. And it's not to be, say, oh, look at us. It's that they've found value and they've shared with their friends. And that's how we get a lot of our businesses through referral, just like a lot of contractors do, where they're in a non-competitive world. They're saying, hey, I know I'm in Arizona and you're in New York. So, hey, you should check this out, because they really have seen that uplift in sales.
Yep. Just a couple little quick ones. Some of the presentations aren't all loading yet. As we're getting people all signed up, we'll go in and verify, like you'll have the access to the remodeler presentation, the program presentation. There's also a cool one in there that we put that really talks about the different threshold types, because explaining thresholds can get complex, especially when you're dealing with trying to solve a problem. So there'll be 3 in there. If you aren't seeing it, just reach out to your RSM and they'll make sure to get it updated. It could take about, through the rest of the week to kind of get that all dialed in as we're working through these, right?
Yep.
And then you're welcome. Somebody just was excited to use it. So we're getting people pumped up. That's the point, is to introduce it, get them excited, and then, get people comfortable with it. And so we'll just continue to work and train on it. Any other last thoughts, Dean?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out in the chat, I put a link to our demo page. If anyone wants to get a personalized demo of Ingage for their company, just hit that link and our team's standing by to make that a reality for you. And I just want to say thanks again. We love the partnership, and I'm very excited to get the content out to people to help them in their business selling and closing more deals. That's what we're all here for, right?
Yeah, no, thank you. And again, it's been great with you guys working with us and creating something special that I know you didn't have out there really at this point for anybody else, to be able to reach all of the people we wanted to reach with this, and give them the opportunity to use Ingage as well. So it was great to figure that out.
Excellent.
Cool. All right. Well, then let's wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, I think it's Thursday afternoon.
It is.
All
Enjoy
right.
the rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks.